Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's 12 o'clock Eastern time. I'm just going to give a few more minutes for more people to join the webinar. So please just hold on. Can you please put your mic on mute, please? Thank you. Okay. It's 12:02. I'm just going to start, and then as people join the room, they'll just join the webinar. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today on navigating the recent changes in Canada immigration policies and regulations. My name is Lilia Yamabo. I'm the co-founder, and I'm also an immigration consultant for Resettling in Canada. I'm going to be the one facilitating this webinar today. Just as a courtesy, please just switch off your mic, or you can mute your mic. If we get to the question and answer sessions, if you have any question, you can then unmute yourself and ask whatever question you want to ask, and we'll try and answer them. Yeah. Also, if you can also, if it's not too much ask, if you can also turn on your video, that would be great. If not, that's still okay. We just want to be sure that we're engaging with you throughout this webinar. This webinar is expected to last for approximately an hour. So hopefully by 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we should be done. Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking out time from your beautiful Saturday to spend this 1 hour session with you as we talk about navigating the recent changes in Canada immigration policies and regulations. We hope you can take 1 or 2 things from this webinar. And if you also want to discuss your unique situation, feel free to schedule a consultation session with us, and we can explore how we can address your immigration situation. Okay, today's agenda, first item on the list, we're going to talk about resettling Canada. Who are we? What is our vision and mission statement? What is this registry database of immigration consultants about? What set us apart from other immigration companies? And then we dive into the main topic of today, which is the recent changes in Canada immigration policies and regulations. We're going to be looking at different streams, right? As you know, there are different immigration pathways, and depending on your unique situation, then we can carve out which pathway can work for you. So what are the recent changes that have happened in the student stream, the spousal, investors, provincial nominee program, the temporary foreign worker, caregivers, parent, grandparents, even the pilot streams and express entry, and how can we navigate those changes? At the end of the day, you would have the opportunity to ask your questions or provide any feedback that you have that we can use to improve our webinars. If in the course of the presentation you do have questions, you can just drop it in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, we would review all questions. Or if you feel that you want to speak up and ask your questions, that is also fine too, but we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about resettling Canada. We are an immigration company. We are based in Canada, as some of you know. So as per our vision, we want to be that trusted and reliable immigration professional firm that is committed to helping our clients and the general public through advocacy and professional expertise. What does all that mean? So part of our process is when a prospect comes to us, they come to us and they say they want to come into Canada either on a temporary or permanent basis. There is a session that we call the consultation session. It's an opportunity to discuss your unique situation with one of our immigration consultants. And that session is supposed to be confidential. So during that session, we try to set the pace. We understand what your intention is, what your requirement, just understand your story in general, right? And offer professional advice, on what unique situation will work for you. So we want to be that trusted and reliable immigration firm, that can tell you the truth at the onset, so that when we start the real application process, there are no false expectations. Everybody is on the same page. We know what to expect. There are no surprises. Our mission statement is to professionally process different applications and representations in the best interest of our client. We are committed to self-improvement and a support system that our clients can depend on for successful outcomes. Yeah. So we've helped a lot of clients that are coming to Canada, either on a temporary or permanent basis. What do we mean by temporary? Temporary, if you're coming here to visit, to work, to study, those are all temporary measures, while permanent ones are the ones you get in your permanent resident or your citizenship, right? Most times it's not possible, or sometimes, not most times, sometimes it's not possible to just come on a permanent basis. You might have to come on a temporary pathway and then eventually transition into a permanent status, right? So we want to process these applications and advocate for our clients in the best way we can, submit the application in a timely manner, represent them the way we should represent them. And so if anything, if the application doesn't yield to a positive outcome, we have every justification to ask for a reassessment by from the visa officer. Okay. Our core values are transparency, commitment, professional development, and delivering promptly. So like I said before, we're transparent in everything we do. You would know from the onset um, your immigration options during your consultation session. We are committed. So every file is different. Every file is unique. You are not just a number. You're not just a case file number when you reach out to us. We give our due diligence and attention to your file. As far as our service go, we can just say broadly, it's cuts across those three options: temporary resident, permanent resident, settlement services. Settlement services in the sense that when you come in here, there are things that you still need. You still need to get a job, you still need to get accommodation, you still need to even know how to navigate the system, schools for your kids, and stuff like that. So we leverage on some of our network and referral partners to support our clients to help with our clients settling down in Canada. Okay, like I said, my name is Lydia. I'm the lead immigration consultant. I have the backing of the Canadian Association of Professional Immigration Consultants, which is CAPIC. It's a big network of all the immigration consultants in Canada. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I've schooled here in Canada. And so I came in here as an immigrant myself, went through the school system before I eventually became a permanent resident, and today I'm a citizen. So through my experiences, I know the difficulty for a new immigrant to even try and start this immigration process, as well as navigate the system, right? I'm also an authorized representative of the Immigration and Citizenship Board. I'm bound by the codes of ethics and confidentiality, and that's one thing you will hear a lot during your consultation session. We tell clients, open up, tell us the truth. When we start asking questions like, have you ever traveled to any country or have you ever been refused a visa? We expect you to tell you the truth, tell us the truth so that we know how to present your file. Otherwise, it could result to misrepresentation and lead to a 5-year ban. Okay. So some of our soft skills: detail orientation, advocacy, communication, and vast in immigration and citizenship law. Anytime you're engaging with anybody, even if it's not ours, even if it's not resettling in Canada, we just expect you to do your own due diligence. You can look up the public registry of Canadian immigration consultant and search, is the person you're talking to licensed? Because there a lot of times, a lot of people run to us after um, they've been defrauded. They paid someone to handle their immigration file, and now the person is not picking up their call. So just do your own due diligence. Go to CICC. Look, you can walk through the blue highlights. So find an immigration consultant, search for an RCIC. RCIC stands for Regulated Canadian Immigration Consultant. You'll be asked to enter the first and last name as well as the company name. And as soon as you do that, the person's name should pop up. What you want to look for: is that person active? Has that person's license been suspended? So you should only be engaging with immigration consultants that have their license active. Okay. What set us apart? We are competent in immigration law. We have the professional expertise to handle immigration files. We have client and industry advocacy, exclusive client-only access to some of our tools and systems that can help our clients transition successfully into Canada. The slide just talks about the process. So when a prospect comes to us and they want to come into Canada, the first thing we ask them is to fill a form and submit their resume. If they're single, they will just be submitting the resume of only themselves. Otherwise, we request for the resume of their spouse as well. Then we go to stage 2, where we engage them in a consultation session. It's an opportunity to talk to an immigration consultant. As basically, we want to hear your story. What's your intention? What do you want to come and do in Canada? We'll review your documents, look at your work experience, and then offer our advice on what immigration program can work for you. If you then decide to, after that consultation session, to retain Our services then would engage in retainership, would create a service agreement sent to you. You would review the service agreements. So basically, it just sets the terms and conditions from both parties. What's our responsibility? What's your own responsibility? You are responsible for telling us the truth, ensuring that you provide your documents in a timely manner. On our end, we're responsible for the whole application process, ensuring that we submit it to the right visa officer or visa office, and ensure that we're putting in a strong foot, making sure that we're putting in a strong application, and then help you transition successfully into Canada even when you come in here. Okay. So now let's dive into the main topic of today, the recent changes in Canada immigration. Canada has a lot of immigration streams, right? And from time to time, they do what we call a labor market assessment. They try to see what immigration program should we be phasing off? Are there immigration streams that we should open up due to shortage of the labor force? Are there things we should be revamping in certain streams? So if you look back, there's some immigration streams that must have been opened years ago, and now they might not be still in existence. So from time to time, they're looking at labor market conditions, assessment, they're looking at rural areas, looking at streams. Do we need more French people in Canada? Do we need more business people? And that is what propels them to either open up an immigration stream or phase off an immigration stream. So now let's look at international student. What are the recent changes that have happened on the international student stream? So as some of you know, when you decide to come into Canada to come and school, the first thing you have to do is to find a school that offers a program that you're interested in. You would apply to the school. The school will review your application. If they feel that you're a great fit for that program, they would issue you an offer, an admission letter. You will take that admission letter. You will apply to for your visa, your student visa, and if it's approved, then you can come into Canada to come and school. Now, from 2024, there are a lot of changes that have happened in the student stream. The first one was the cap they set, right? So now they're saying that they want to decrease the number of students that they admit into Canada. Okay, so we are looking at a 35% decrease from 2023, which translates to about 360,000 study permit approvals, right? So you can see that has a major impact on the student stream, and this is set for a 2-year cap limit. So we're looking at for the next 2 years, this is the direction they want to go. We don't know what would happen after 2 years. Another great change that happened was the financial. So before you had to just show about $10,000 for living expenses. Now they doubled almost that amount to about $20,635 in living expenses. That living expenses, most of our clients, we advise them to open a GIC account and ensure that that 20,635 is actually sitting in a Canadian bank account through GIC. Okay, so 20,635 for living expenses plus 1 year tuition plus travel costs. That's what we're looking at financials. Another great change that happened was the off-campus work during studies. So pre-COVID, when you come into Canada as a student, you can work for 20 to 25 hours off campus while the school is in session. Now, when COVID happened, the borders were closed, people couldn't come into the country, even express entry candidates that were selected couldn't come in to land as permanent resident because of what was happening during COVID. So we had to leverage those people that were inside Canada to help us do the work. So they leveraged those that were students and those that were actually visitors in Canada. And at that time, they came up with this policy that as long as you are a student and you are registered as a student, you can work unlimited work hours. So even during school session or off school session, it didn't matter. You could work unlimited work. Well, that came to an end April 30th. And from May 1st to August 30th, they said no more unlimited work. you can now work 20 hours per week. And starting September 2024, you can work 24 hours per week. Now, don't confuse this work with, if you're a student and you get work on campus, say like your campus has a bookstore and they gave you a part-time job, you can work that, no problem. But what we're referring to is off campus, right? So any job that you get outside the premises of the school is considered off campus, and those are the hours we're talking about here. Okay. A new item that they introduced is also called the provincial attestation letter, which did not exist before. So before, once you get your admission letter, you just apply for the study permit. But now they're saying you have to get provincial attestation letter. So the government of Canada has actually said there's some schools that are over admitting students. So beyond what they should be doing. So now they allocate cap to each school. And so it's if your school has been allocated a certain number, that school cannot accept student more than that cap. Okay, so now you have to get a provincial attestation letter in addition to your admission letter before you can apply for your study permit. There's certain exemptions though. If you are coming in here, so if you have a child that's coming in here for preschool or primary or secondary or master's or a doctoral degree, they are exempted from the cap. It doesn't apply to them. So they don't need to get a provincial attestation letter. It also applies to people that are applying under the student direct stream program. That stream has a shorter processing time, is about 20 days to process the study permit. So regardless, they still have to get a provincial attestation letter before they can apply for their study permit. Postgraduate work permit eligibility. So before, it doesn't, if your spouse is coming into Canada to study, right? It didn't matter what they were coming to study, if it was a college degree, if it was a master's, postgrad, as long as your spouse was coming, you, the other spouse, could apply for an open work permit. And what that allows you to do is while your spouse is studying, you can actually be working, right? You could, it was an open work permit and you could work unlimited hours. And that way you could use that to support the family. The open work permit is actually tied to your spouse study permit. So the day your spouse study permit expires, your work permit would expire too, right? But now they're saying that no, they don't want to go that route anymore. It's only people that are coming in for a master's. So first of all, if you're coming in for a program that is part of a curriculum licensing, you are ineligible. You are not eligible to apply for that postgraduate work permit. The postgraduate work permit is something that permits you to work after you've graduated, right? So after the student has graduated, depending on the length and the duration of your study. So if you come here for a one-year program, you were eligible for a one-year postgraduate work permit. And depending on the province that you are, you can actually work and then apply for your permanent resident to be in Canada, okay? If you come here for a 2-year program, then you'll be eligible for either a 2-year or a 3 years work permit, okay? Now they're saying, if you were coming in for a master's program that was just 1 year, you would have just 1 year work permit. But now they're saying that if master's degree program are not eligible for 3 years postgraduate work permit, as long as you're coming in for a minimum of 8 months of study. Okay. Now let's look at spousal work permit. Therapist, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Spousal work permit eligibility. Now let's look at it from undergraduate and postgraduate studies. If you're coming, if you're a student and you are married, you're coming in for undergraduate, your spouse can only apply for the spousal work permit if you are coming in for medicine, dentistry, or law program. Same thing with postgraduate studies. If you're coming in for postgraduate studies, as long as you're coming in for master's or doctoral degree, then yes, your spouse can then apply for the work permit. If you don't fall under any of these categories, then your spouse cannot apply for the work permit. Okay. The third stream we want to look at is the business immigration stream. So under the business immigration, we have two streams: startup visa and self-employed. Startup visa and self-employed programs are things that happen on the federal level. Like, immigration is both federal and provincial level. Federal in the sense that they come up with programs that applies to everybody. Provincial, the province have the power to come up with their own programs, but they have to get the backing from federal level to implement this program. So startup, can you hear myself? Hello? Okay, it's a stop. So startup visa and self-employed, like I was saying, they are federal programs. So these are programs that say you want to either buy a business, you have a great business idea, you want to buy an existing business, or you want to start up a business in Canada. For the startup visa, you have to come up with a business proposal. You have to justify how this your great business idea is innovative, how it's going to create jobs for 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 Canada as a whole. And then you would submit your application to certain designated organizations, right? So we have three designated organizations. They can be angel investors, it could be business incubators. Once they review it and they are okay with it, and they'll give you a commitment letter, and then you use that to apply for your work permit. You can come in with your family, you run the business, they would assess the business. As long as you meet the terms and conditions, then you can apply for your permanent residency. Okay. Now they're saying that from April 29th, 2024 to December 31st, 2026, things are going to change. Why? Because startup visa program has a lot of backlog, right? It was a very successful immigration program. A lot of people were coming in here. They were starting up businesses. They were bringing their family. You could actually partner with another family to run the business. So it was very successful. Now they have a huge backlog, and they're saying that no, they're going to have an annual cap of 10. They're only going to consider 10 applications per designated organization. So that is a drastic change to the stream. And not all designated organizations would be eligible for priority processing. You need to have the support from a Canadian capital or business incubator that is part of the Canadian Tech Network before you'll be eligible for priority processing. Self-employed, on the other hand, have stopped accepting applications to address backlogs and to improve processing time. The projected time that we're just saying that they're going to resume the self-employed would be January 2027, so which is about 3 years from now, 2.5 years. PNP, Provincial Nominee Program. So Provincial Nominee, this is where the province has the power to run their own immigration stream. Now, never in the history, postgraduate work permit is something that is a work permit that is issued once in a lifetime. So if they issue a postgraduate work permit, say for example, it's just 1 year, you better make use of that postgraduate work permit work, because once it expires, even if you decide to go back to school, a higher degree, you pay more money, they will never issue that postgraduate work permit anymore. But in the first time of history, Manitoba, they were able to extend the postgraduate work permit for people that their work permit was expiring in 2024, and as long as you were in the Manitoba pool. British Columbia, before, as long as you were coming in for a program that fell under STEM, so any form of science, technology, engineering, mathematical program, you could just automatically apply and qualify for a provincial nominee program. But now they're saying, no, you will not automatically qualify anymore. You have to have 1 year full-time work experience before you can actually submit a provincial nominee a provincial nominee application, and then apply for your permanent residence. Ontario, on the other hand, is looking at they're prioritizing programs that fall in any of these categories: STEM, skilled trade, health, hospitality, childcare. Again, they're assessing shortage and the labor force in Ontario, and they're saying these are the areas that we need more people. As a whole, the provincial nominee program, the federal government has given the mandates that they're giving them more autonomy, and they've increased their target for 2024 to 110,000 immigrants that they're looking at to bring new immigrants in 2024. Now, I think I'm trying to hide it. I think it's blocking my slide so that you can actually see. Maybe this is better. Temporary foreign worker. So the plan is to shrink the number of temporary residents in Canada from 6.2 to 5% of the population by 2027. So temporary foreign workers are people that come in here, they come to work for a certain period of time, and they can actually utilize any of the pathways to move from temporary foreign worker to a permanent resident. Now, most of the time, for you to qualify for a work permit under the temporary foreign worker, you have to go through what is called an LMIA, labor market impact assessment. The employer must be willing to back up your application. They have to prove that they could not find any Canadian that could do that job, and that's why they are hiring you to come and do this job in Canada. So they'll look at your skills. They would advertise the job for minimum 4 weeks on 3 job platforms, and they'll submit that application to Employment Service Canada. Immigration is not involved at that stage. Employment Service Canada would review the application, ensure that whatever the company is requesting for makes sense, in the sense that, for example, say an employer is looking for a supervisor for a local store, um, and they're putting a job ad that is asking for a PhD. So Employment Service Canada will look at such application. Why do you need someone with a PhD to come and do to run your store? So those are the kind of things they will look at. Times, if they are not convinced, they would even interview the candidate to be sure that this candidate can do the job. Okay. Now, the employer, on the other hand, has to ensure that they pay the worker, this foreign worker, the prevailing rate, right? The prevailing wage rate. So for that supervisor example, if that supervisor is based in Ontario, what is the prevailing rate that they are paying the supervisor in Ontario? That's what the employer has to pay. It doesn't matter if the worker decides to take a lower rate, they have to pay the prevailing rate. Okay, so few changes. So that's a brief overview about the temporary foreign worker. Few changes that has occurred for the LMIA. Now, before the validity was 12 months, it has now been reduced to 6 months. For the annual wage review, so before, as long as you offer the temporary foreign worker an offer of employment, and you offer the prevailing rate at the time you are employing that worker, that was fine. But now they're saying they're going to be doing annual reviews just to ensure that you're still paying the prevailing rate, because you might offer someone a certain amount, a certain wage rate this year, but next year that amount has actually increased in terms of prevailing rate. So they're going to be doing annual review just to make sure that you are still compliant with that. Now, hiring. So before, not just saying they're going to reduce from 30% to 20% workforce, the number of low-wage temporary foreign workers that can be hired. So say you're in a company, they're going to look at what are the total number of employees that you have that are temporary foreign workers, and what is the composition in terms of the ratio numbers, in terms of what's the number of foreign workers versus non-foreign workers that you have in your organization. The only exemption is if you're coming in and you have experience in construction or healthcare, or they're employing you during peak season for either agriculture, fishing, or tourism, then that 20% will not apply to you. Okay. The sixth stream that we're going to look at this caregiver program. Now, if you have been following immigration trend in Canada, caregiver has come a long way. There was a time they had this in living caregiver program where you employ somebody from outside Canada, that person comes in to care for either your children or a senior in your home. They have to live with you, you pay them, you accommodate them, and after they work for you for some time, and then they can then apply for their permanent residency. Now, in 2019, they moved away from the living caregiver, um, and they revamped it into the home child care provider and home support worker, because there was a lot of abuse with that system. There were times that a lot of people were complaining that their employer was abusing them. They were not paying them their salary the way they should be paying, and they had to endure because they felt like, okay, if I leave my current employer, where will I go? They're the ones housing me, they're the ones feeding me. On my permanent residency, I want to get my permanent residency application so I can help my family from back home. And so they came in with these two streams. With these two streams, you didn't have to live in your employer's home. The home child care, with the home child care provider, you just needed to provide care to children, right? So you're providing care to children, and it has to be a residential home. It cannot be like a long-term facility or a daycare. It can't be of any of that organization, right? It can't be an organization. It can't be a company. It can be an agency. You can get a job through an agency, but in terms of rendering services, you might be rendering the service to a residential home. So that's what qualifies on our home childcare provider. Home support worker, you are actually providing care to a senior, right? Also a senior that has medical challenges. So they launched that pilot program in 2019. Now it's expiring June 17, 2024. But given the aging population in Canada, and given the need for caregivers and the shortage of health workers that we have in Canada, there is ongoing discussions that this caregiver program can eventually become a permanent immigration stream. So the seventh immigration stream is the parent-grandparent sponsorship. So this is an immigration stream where a Canadian, either a permanent resident or a Canadian, can actually sponsor their parent or their grandparent to become a permanent resident in Canada. Okay. A long time ago, all you had to do was just apply. As long as you meet the income level and you're willing to sponsor, you just submit your application, and they'll review it and they would approve if you qualify. Then they change it to a lottery-based system whereby you submit an expression of interest that you're interested in sponsoring. And then just like how a lottery works, they'll go in randomly and select people. If they select you, then you would then put in the full application for the parent-grandparent application, right? Parent-grandparent sponsorship. And that's when they will review and approve. But there were concerns that, I submitted, I met all the qualifications, and yet they did not select me. In such instances, you would have to wait till the next year. There were also issues where they select someone, and now it's time for them to put in the full application. They don't actually meet all the requirements, right? So yeah, so invitations started on May 21st. So they started issuing invitations. So invitations in this instance mean that people that they had already they submitted their expression of interest, they had selected, and now they're selecting them, right? But they have a lot of backlog with this program. So they're only selecting people that submitted their expression of interest since 2020, right? So if you submitted, they're going to start selecting from 2020, And the target is 35,700 invitations will be extended, and about 20,500 applications will be approved from this pool. Pilot programs. So pilot programs, there are times where government of Canada would design a program and they just want to run it as a test. They want to see how efficient that program is. And even after, so they will design the program, they will say it's going to run for X number of years. After X number of years, we'll assess it. And if it's successful, we can actually revamp that program, or we can make it a permanent one. Okay. So one of such pilot program is called the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. So it was first introduced as a pilot program, and this program, you needed a job offer. So there were certain communities that expressed interest that they wanted to participate in this rural and northern immigration pilot. And such communities were based in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, BC, and Alberta. So now that we've done 5 years of this rural and northern immigration pilots, they now want to transition into a more permanent immigration program. So move away from the pilot system. That gave birth to two pilot pathways. The first is the Rural Community Immigration Pilot Program. And what they're saying that they want to address workforce. A lot of people just want to move into big cities. Everybody wants to, most people, when you ask them, where do you want to go? It's either they're saying they want to move into or big provinces, Ontario, Alberta. But there's some rural communities that actually have labor shortages. They need people in there. And so rural community immigration pilots is a pathway that can actually help those rural communities to source the required workforce that can come and address their labor shortage. Another pilot pathway is the Francophone community immigration pilot. They want to increase the number of French-speaking newcomers in Francophone minority communities, and that does not include Quebec. Okay, there are other cities, so they want to develop these Francophone minority communities. Right now, since this pilot program's a new pilot, they just opened it May 21st this year, and the deadline is July 2nd, 2024. But they're just currently in the phase where they're reaching out to, they want communities to reach out to them to express their interest that they want to participate. Once they have passed this phase, then the next phase will be for people that are interested in migrating to those communities to actually go to those communities' website and see if they can get a job. You actually need a job offer from this community, and then you can then apply as a pathway to permanent residency. Express entry. So express entry has been open for a long time now, and it's a program that, you know, they select candidates. They use a lot of factors in determining if you would qualify. So they look at your age, they look at your work experience, they look at your language proficiency, your education, and they put you in this pool, right? And when you get into this pool, you have to rank with other candidates in that pool. And from time to time, Government of Canada, we go into that pool and select people with the highest, it's called CRS score, which stands for Comprehensive Ranking Score. And if you are selected, then you can then apply for your permanent residency. Under express entry, think of it as an umbrella that under that umbrella, you have 3 streams. You have the skilled worker, you have the skilled trade, and you have the Canadian experience class. So sometimes you would hear people, oh, I came into Canada to school. If you come in as a student in Canada, once you're done, you've gotten your postgraduate work permit, now you want to work, you're working and you want to apply for permanent residency, you can either go through the express entry Canadian experience class route, or you go through provincial nominee program. Okay. Now, when Government of Canada selects candidates from that pool and they're doing their draws, you will hear sometimes, oh, this is just a general draw. General draw in the sense that, you know, they were not looking at anything, as long as if they were looking for people, for example, that had 450 score points, As long as you met up 450, you'll be selected. There are times that they call it, they look at certain categories. So it's called express entry category based. And they will just target certain areas. So they might say, okay, this time we just want to target people that have French proficiency. And for you to demonstrate that you have French proficiency, you have to actually take a test. Um, um, and the test is similar to an IELTS, just that is a French version, and they'll rank you on your speaking, reading, listening, and yeah, speaking, reading, writing. And then as long as you meet the points, they will select you from the pool. So one of the things that's going to change in 2024 is French proficiency. As you can see, on this chart, you can see they're saying that express entry category base will account for 78.5% of the selections that are going to come from express entry, while the general category would come from 21.5%. Under the express entry category base, they're looking at French proficiency. As you can see, it accounts for 30%. So out of this 78.5, 30%. And then the next one with the highest percentage is the STEM. So if you fall under any of the science, technology, engineering, or math, it will account for 25%. Healthcare is 15%, trades is 5%, transport is 3%, and agriculture and agri-food is 0.5%. Okay, so again, this is how you're going to be selecting 2024 under express entry category base will account for 78.5, while the general will just be 21.5%. So that brings us to the end of recent changes that is happening in some of the immigration streams. Now, how can we navigate these changes? So it's broken down as per the immigration stream. International students, you know that you want to come here to school, right? Say right now we're already in May, so coming in for September is not realistic because now you know that each of the schools actually have allocation caps. So the ask is you have to try and apply early because now you know that not only do you have to get an admission letter from the school, you also have that extra step of the provincial attestation letter before you can apply for the study permit. So apply early, ensure that you have sufficient funds. It's not enough to say, oh, my school fees, the tuition is about 20,000. I'm just going to only show bank statement in 20,000. Now you know that living expenses have been increased, and you also have to account for 1 year tuition as well as your travel costs. So you have surplus funds that can um, um, that can account for all this category. Check if you are out, if you qualify under SDS eligibility, which is a student direct stream. Only certain eligible countries are eligible for the SDS. So make sure you check if you qualify, and if you do, consider applying through the stream instead because it only takes 20 business days, 20 calendar days, sorry, to apply under the stream. Okay. Spousal work permit, if you know you want to come in here and you want your spouse to join you to get an open work permit, make sure you're applying for a program that qualifies your spouse for the spousal open work permit. You need to show proof of documentation that you guys are married, and this person is your spouse, and also you have to ensure that you are still registered in school, so you actually have an active status as a student in school. You can also consider alternative options for your spouse. If the spousal open work permit does not work, they can come in as a visitor visa to come and visit you here in Canada. The only thing is they will not be able to work. And there are other work permit types that you can also research and might be applicable to your spouse. Okay. Now, entrepreneur. Remember I said that, you know, the startup program and the self-employed, which was coming to a halt, and the revamp they've done to the startup visa. You might want to explore other provincial entrepreneur options. British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia also have their own PMP entrepreneur program. So you can explore that to see if, you know, you meet their requirements and you're eligible for such program. Unfortunately, Ontario and Quebec have already stopped their entrepreneurial programs, so those two provinces are not an option. We also have the intercompany transfer program, whereby you can actually come and start a branch of your company here in Canada, and that can lead to permanent residency, regardless of whatever immigration stream you decide to, business immigration stream you decide to pursue. Just make sure that you have enough justification and you put in enough emphasis on how your business is going to contribute to the economy, how it's going to create jobs, how it's innovative, and how it has that tech component. Because most times nowadays they are approving if you can justify your business has innovation and tech focus. So priority is given to those areas. Okay. Express and PMP, express entry and provincial nomination. Like you must have seen in some of the slides, even the two pilot programs, emphasis now is on French. If you can, please consider taking a French training. I know it's not easy, but not everything is that hard. So try and take French and try and challenge the French exam to you know, put you ahead of other candidates. Look at the streams. What are they considering priority selections? What are they considering priority streams? Is there any way that you can leverage your skills to ensure that you fall under priority? Is there any way that you can, if you have a bachelor's degree, for example, we already know that once you get into the express entry pool, does that with if you have a higher education, you get more points, right? So is there a way if you just have a bachelor's, you can get a postgraduate degree, or you can come in for master's so you can get extra points? You never know. That 1 point or 2 point extra can actually push you and you get a selection. Temporary foreign worker. When you are considering to come and work in Canada and you're applying and throwing your resumes before you get the job offer, research your employer. Are they ready to back your application from start to finish? Two, look at how with this job that I have been offered or position, how can I transition to permanent residence? So you have to be proactive and you have to be strategic, and you have to try and talk to someone that can offer you immigration advice. How does this job align with your work experience? So because you know that at Employment Service Canada level, this is what they'll be looking at. And if they don't see how your job aligns with your work experience, they won't be giving you a positive LMIA, and you can't even apply to immigration for a work permit with a negative LMIA. Research and do your own due diligence, because some of these employers, they are not conversant with immigration law. Sometimes you have to educate them, right? Or your immigration consultant has to educate them. Just make sure that when you are issued your offer letter, is the prevailing wage rate that's actually written there, and not just the minimum wage for that position. Otherwise, your application will not be approved. Research workforce to know the low wage exemption for job offer, like I mentioned before. Caregiver is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. They might stop a pilot program, but we really need caregivers in Canada. So just stay current on the new initiative or extension of current caregiver programs. Try and apply early, like for those two programs, the home childcare and the home support worker. It always opens up January 1st of each year. And from previous years, the home child care provider is the one that fills up fast, because you just have to justify that you can care for children. The home support worker usually still opens for a long time, right? The ones that you come and care for seniors. So try and apply early. For those two pilot program, it ends June 2024, but we know that there'll be announcement on what they're going to do to the caregiver if you are ineligible for the permanent resident, because the home child care and the home support worker leads to permanent resident. Sir, can you mute your mic, please? So if you are ineligible for permanent residence, just make sure that you maintain your status in Canada. Try and extend your work permit. Talk to your employer if they can actually extend your work permit. Otherwise, you can go and look for another employer that is willing to go through the temporary foreign worker and LMI route. Okay, parent, grandparent. If you submit an expression of interest, so this is geared towards permanent residents and citizens in the house that want to apply for their parent or their grandparent. If you are not issued a selection, right, to push in your full application for the parent and grandparent sponsorship, try and consider other pathways. So we have the super visa, it's 10 years valid, and your parent or grandparent can actually come into Canada and stay 5 years at a time. Okay. So try and consider the super visa while you still keep trying, you still remain in the parent and grandparent pool, but at least that is a temporary measure. The visitor visa too is another option, but the visa officer the visitor visa does not grant the parent or grandparent a longer stay like the super visa. Okay. Now the pilot programs. For the pilot programs that I mentioned, just try and stay abreast with all the communication and all the changes and announcements they're going to be making. Right now, they're seeking communities to reach out to immigration and see if they are interested in participating in any of the pilot program, either for the Francophone one or for the rural one. So just research. Once that phase is over, try and research those communities. Go to their website. What kind of jobs are they looking for? How can I leverage my skills, to address the work shortages in those communities? And then make sure you're prepping your documents early, because you want to be sure that once you put in your application, there are no delays. So make sure you're prepping it early, so that by the time they have solidified all plans, you are ready to go. Okay. So that brings us to the end of today's presentation. And just as a courtesy, here we're offering a 10% discount on any of our consultation, and just for a limited period of time. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to this presentation. We are also active on social media, so you can join us on either LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Yeah, so thank you. If you have any questions, now is the right time to ask your questions, or if you have any feedback. Thank you. I'm just going to look at the chat if we have any questions. I don't see any questions.
Good afternoon. Good
I have a question.
Okay, sure. So if you have any question, just raise up your hand and then we can take. So you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Lauren.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good day.
Sorry, I just want to confirm something. Somebody that is having a good grade in institution, maybe they attend a polytechnic, a recognized polytechnic in Nigeria, and add distinction in it. What kind of education can he pursue as a kind of postgraduate program in Canada that will be suitable for such a person? That is the question that I want to ask. And part two, as an auxiliary nurse, can the person have the opportunity of applying for child care program in Canada? Those are the two questions I have.
Okay. So thank you for your questions. I'm going to try and answer as much as I can. So I think the first question you said, someone that has a polytechnic degree wants to come into Canada, you want to know what kind of program can the person apply for, right? Now,
Yes.
Okay, so that question is broad. When you want to apply for a school in Canada, I mean, you can apply to any school, you get the admission, but when you get to the study permit application stage, what the visa officer wants to see is, one, are you a genuine student? Two, how does the study you want to come and study, well, how does a program of study you want to come into Canada to do enhance your career? So you need to show relationship, right? Of either what you did for first degree, what you did at the polytechnic, or what you are actually working at, right? Your work experience, your current work experience. How does it relate to this course you're coming to do in Canada? Okay, so it's not for me to say, oh, you did this degree, now the best one is this particular degree. We need to look at, what have you studied, where have you been working, and then we can then advise on the right kind of programs you can come and do in Canada. Okay, hope I answered that first question.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Then the second question was, remind me again, please.
As an auxiliary nurse.
Okay. So as an auxiliary nurse, can you come into Canada to come and do the childcare program? Absolutely. So we have not just auxiliary nurses, we even have people that are registered nurses, and even those that don't even have they don't have nursing background, but maybe they've worked in a daycare before, they've handled children, they've worked with seniors before. So they can use those skills or they can use that experience to apply for the childcare program. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Credo? Credo, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam and Credo. My question goes like this. I'm married with 2 kids, and my wife is a doctor in pharmacy, and I'm in recruitment. I'm a talent manager as well. We both had experience, like 12 years experience with master degree, and she's 4 years experience. So we're looking to relocate, and I want to know what is your advice, because we speak both English and French. What would you advise such profile who would like to relocate to Canada? What guideline can you give them?
Okay, so Credo, thank you for your question. Well, I would advise you book a consultation session because this particular question you're asking is a question that it is unique to you, right? Again, we look at your resume, we would at your work experience. It's great that you speak both French and English. So we'll look at those and then come up with a plan on the best immigration stream that can work for you. Okay.
All right. So if we ask, I'm sorry if I apologize for everyone here. How much is the consulting fee? And so we can know what we're booking for.
Yeah, sure. So the consultation fee is $100. It's a 30-minute session. It's an opportunity to talk to an immigration consultant from our firm, to know your story, ask questions on your profile, and they cover an immigration plan that can work best for you.
Okay. Where are you based?
In Canada?
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll get to that.
Okay, and consultation sessions are usually held over the phone or a Zoom call. So it doesn't matter if you are based in Canada. We can always do a virtual session. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I see a question on the chat. I just want to confirm you can bring your spouse if you're on a closed work permit. Is that a question, Naz? Can you bring your spouse if you're on a closed work permit? Is that a question? Yeah, but what are you like on a closed work permit as what? Like, what's your status in Canada? You can unmute your mic and speak. What's your status in Canada? Naz? It's for my family member. They will be on LMI visa. They'll be on LMI visa. Okay, so what I understand is you are the one that is, okay, sorry, I don't have working mechanism. Okay, that's fine. What I understand from this question is you are the one that has an LMI supported work permit, and you are the one that are working. So now you want to know, can you bring your family here? The answer, if that's your question, the answer is yes, you can bring your family as long as your LMI work permit is still valid. Okay, Nas? No worries. Any other question? It's 104. If you have any question, I can take, otherwise we can bring. Okay, I am on another one, Joe Curiel. I'm on a postgraduate work permit for 1 year now. I'm working with Eastern Health as a domestic worker with a postgraduate diploma from MUNU Finland. If my postgraduate work permit expires, can I have an extension of postgraduate work permit close-up permit form? I'm on a postgraduate work permit for 1 year now. I'm working with Eastern. No. So postgraduate work permit, you cannot extend it. There are talks, discussions on changing the postgraduate work permit, but for now, as of today, rules and regulations, you cannot extend your postgraduate work permit. The only people that were granted an extension were people that are in Manitoba. They were in the pool under the Provincial Nominee program. They were the only ones that, and they had to fight for it. They had to actually do a rally for it, and they were granted extension. But every other province, nothing yet. Okay, hope I answered your question, Joe Curiel. Any other question? No? Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. Someone came in. How much is your study package? So Joe Curiel wants to know how much is your study package. Again, let's take this offline. I need to know more. When you say study, what kind of study? And is there intention that your spouse is going to join you eventually? So we can take that offline. Okay, Joe Curiel. Okay, thank you, everyone. It's hope you're able to learn 1 or 2 things from the webinar. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Okay, someone has a question.
You're on the
The group,
chat.
get to know employers that has LMI to apply.
Oh, how do we get to know employers that has LMI to apply? You just have to apply. So you would apply, and then you would, okay, so first of all, go to Job Bank and go to Job Bank website. There is a way you can use the filters to filter on the job ads that are actually willing to sponsor temporary foreign workers to get LMIs. And when you do such filtering, then you can then apply to such jobs. Okay, that's one way. 2, if you're in Canada, you can approach local businesses and, reach out to them and say, and introduce yourself and say, you're in Canada on a temporary status, and now you're looking for a job that would offer LMI, but you also have to let the employer know how they will benefit from your skills, right? So those are the 2 ways. Are there age limitations, and what is a good pathway for someone that's over 50? Okay, so when you say age limitation, are there age limitations for what? Like express entry, we know, right? The older you are, the lesser point you get, and the only way you can overcome that is if you have actually a job offer, or if you have a provincial nomination, because those will give you points. And again, your language proficiency must be high marks, right? What is a good pathway for over 50? Again, it depends. The school routes, if someone is if someone has enough money, there's an entrepreneur way. If they have the funds to go the business route, because they're just asking about managerial experience. Again, you have to do language proficiency and all that. If finance is an issue, then we can do the provincial nomination. Okay, Dorothy? Hope I answered your question. You can also look at this pilot programs that are coming up, because none of them have age restrictions. They're just looking for someone that can address their labor shortage. Okay, as long as you get a job offer from those participating communities, you get a job offer and you get their backing, then you can actually transition to PR through that route. Again, this question is kind of broad because I need to know more, like the background and their work experience and what they've been doing to actually advise on the best route. But those are just some of the pathways that can work for someone over that age. Okay. Any other question? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk another time. Bye now.